And that's why he kind of tends to get usurped by the supporting cast, because Will, like I said, is another character who doesn't really get the chance to development, but Clarice is a lot of fun, and a lot of the side characters, they're either just pretty cool characters from their first appearance, or are just so outlandish, they're just freaking awesome in their own right. Like I said, Sarge Thunderarm is one of those characters, because he's a former Civil War general with a robot arm, don't ask him.
Okay, that sentence got cooler with each word.
Yeah. If you want even more, also, just look up his character design. I don't know if it's on the internet, but it's one of the most unique appearances I've ever seen. And then there's the Armor Baron, who's basically a guy in medieval armor with a jetpack. That's pretty much it.
Oh my god, it's Ghosts and Goblins meets Dark Void.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's one way of describing it. And again, for those of you who have read Buso Red King, that character later went on to be revived as Buster Baron, which, for those of you who haven't seen Buso Red King, is essentially a giant robot. So that's one way to resurrect a character.
Yeah, most certainly.
So that's why I can say that even though this series is still a bit weak on ideas, it's an entertaining series, because one strength I'll always say about Nobuhiro Watsuki, one is the character creation, and two is the interaction, because there's one scene in the third volume which actually, it takes place over 2 chapters, but it's quite possibly one of my favourite scenes in this entire series, and I actually think it's a good scene for a lot of manga writers to follow. It's the standard Western scenario in that basically the 3 of them, Chloe, Will, and View, walk into a saloon and everyone's kind of glaring at them menacingly, etc. And they basically order 3 coffees and Chloe says, "I like milk in mine." Everyone laughs at her and then they give 3 coffees, all of which are black, and the saloon owner basically acts like a dick and says, "We're a saloon for adults, so we only serve our coffee black," and everything. And everyone continues to laugh and taunt them, and everyone's telling the view because basically he's the standard shonen protagonist who normally jumps at the chance for a fight, and everyone's just telling him, "Don't get worked up, they're not worth it," and everything. Then, because Chloe is Japanese, they start making racial insults at her, and then View basically stands up and says the usual screaming of "Just wait a moment, I can't let that go," and then this character named JJ, who's essentially a cowboy in black leather, just walks up, orders milk. He just completely ignores the laughter, isn't fazed by it at all, and manages to completely scare the owner of the saloon by just repeating, "Milk. I said milk, darn it," you know. Okay, he doesn't quite say it like that, but yeah, he orders milk. He then basically tells you, "Don't let people like that work you up. You should save your energy for Gunblaze West." He then gets the milk, puts it in Clarice's cup, and then says, "Here you go, coffee with milk. I can say it's delicious." You know, that kind of thing. And then he basically just comes off like a cool guy, being friendly with everyone else. And then everyone else in the saloon kind of just gets irate, start wondering if he really likes Orientals that much. And then he tries to laugh it off, but then they all start pulling out their guns. And he basically, in sort of typical anime fashion, his eyes just suddenly change and he becomes serious. And he goes, "It's just coffee and milk. It's her freedom of choice." And everyone just trying to smile and laugh it off. Once an outlaw draws his gun, the only free choice he's got is kill or be killed. So he draws his gun. Our heroes join in as well, saying, "You appear to be outnumbered, so we're going to help you out here." And then the Armor Baron walks into the saloon as this is going on. All of the outlaws fire their guns at once, and he's caught in the crossfire. And then the smoke clears, and he's just basically standing there with only his cape damaged, and he basically just goes, "What on earth is going on here? Is it the custom here to suddenly fire on a customer?" Walks up to the counter, there's like a big stack of money, and the saloon owner, he's basically pissing himself at this point, basically goes, "So what will you have?" He says, "Milk." Everyone in the bar is silent, and he just goes, "What? Milk is extremely nutritious. You need it to grow big and strong, you know."
Wow.
That's why I hold Nobuhiro Watsuki in that high esteem, because in 2 chapters, you have not only given our heroes a chance to shine, but you have basically introduced 2 characters, allowed us to see how they look and how they act in just a few exchanges, and you got an action scene in there, so it's just really well executed, and like I said, it's one of the highlights of the entire thing.
Wow. That's impressive. I am extremely tempted to look it up even though we're halfway through a broadcast.
I can't blame you. It is a good scene. See that, Kubo? That's how you establish character. But yeah, that's one of the main reasons I can still say this is an entertaining read. The character interaction and just the way they're all introduced is still top-notch, and there's some pretty entertaining action sequences. But like I said, I can also see why it was cancelled, because, to be blunt, there are one or two good ideas in here, but you can clearly tell he hasn't thought that much about this since the plot kind of just meanders around without any direction, really, so it's kind of just, okay, we go through this arc, we introduce this character, we introduce that character, okay, now what? You know, nothing really feels like it's had a lot of thought put into it, so it's kind of like, you can clearly tell he's desperately trying to keep the series alive, and and this can be down to the title place itself, Gunblaze West, because it's not really 100% clear what it really is. I mean, in the first chapter, it's described as a point so far west you can see the setting sun, and only the finest gunslingers go there, and the strongest of them all is given the finest gun every 10 years, or something like that. And then it's kind of meant to imply later that it may be this Colosseum, so it's like, oh, it's proving ground for gunslingers, but then people start talking about it like it's a philosophical place. There's also a place where there's advanced technology. It's also explained as the origin for all of the Armor Baron's tech, so it's kind of explained but then kind of not. So it's kind of hard to really get what it is they're all searching for. They all talk about Gunblaze West like, oh, it's this amazing place where my dreams can come true, where I can find what I'm looking for, that kind of thing, but it's never really explained how or why that's the case. I mean, if they were just going there to prove that they're strong, I can understand that, but no, I don't know.
Yeah, so basically the general issue you see with the series is that it blatantly needed more time.
Pretty much. Well, not just more time just in serialization. I think, like I said, Nobuhiro Watsuki admits this himself, but he just needed more time to kind of just sort of think through the concept a bit more, because basically one of the things he said was that he was forced to go with the first draft of the first chapter, so he didn't even have enough time to rewrite it or go over it. He had to make that chapter, so I think it's one of those things where there were a lot of good ideas and characters, it just needed a bit more thought put into it, that's all I was saying.
Wow,
yeah.
I never thought that I would see the day where a manga would actually need more chapters to be better.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, yeah, that's pretty much the summary I can give of Gunblaze West. It's only entertaining, has a lot of good ideas, and is pretty unique in terms of its setting. But at the same time, I'm not really sure if I can recommend it to people. I mean, if you, like me, you're a Nobuhiro Watsuki fan, I definitely recommend adding it to your collection just so you can kind of just see his progression. In fact, it's actually kind of funny that Nobuhiro Watsuki... They said it's kind of ironic that Rurouni Kenshin was his first serialized manga and it's his most successful work, so it's kind of like Gunblaze West and Rurouni Kenshin swap places. Because it's a long-running joke that he thought that Rurouni Kenshin would be cancelled after 13 weeks, and he made it with the goal to just survive, and it's his most popular work that lasted 5 years.
Yeah, and is still celebrated to this day.
Yeah, that's kind of... That'll be irony. But yeah, whether I could just recommend it to a casual manga reader, yeah, I can kind of recommend it. I would say that it's an entertaining one. I wouldn't say it's a great one by any means. I would definitely say it would probably be better for you to read Rurouni Kenshin or Busou Renkin first. Preferably Busou Renkin because that series needs more love. But yeah, overall, apart from one or two sequences like that saloon scene I mentioned earlier, I would have to say be cautious with this one is all I would say.
Yeah, that sounds fair enough. It sounds interesting to me, so I might, if I can, for some ungodly reason, actually find it. I might check it out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's online, but I will note that because of its slightly obscure and populous nature, it's going incredibly cheaply online.
Oh gee, that's a surprise.
Yeah. Oh dear. So yeah, that brings this manga section to a close, and we'll now move on to...
Quickfire reviews!
This is easy to explain. This section is where the two of us review everything else we read, watched, or played, but within a maximum time limit of 60 seconds. Whilst I'm setting up the timer, Sven, do you have anything?
Not a thing.
Oh, wow. Okay, well I only have a small handful of things, so, yeah, here we go.
First off, to cover Shonen manga quickly, like I've said, it is god-awful. I really cannot recommend any good titles this week or ever.
That's one review over.
Second, Mulan. No, not the Disney one, the live-action Chinese version. Yeah, this is something I checked out out of curiosity, and whilst I haven't seen the Disney Mulan, it's actually kind of interesting to see the differences of focus between the two of them. The live-action Mulan focuses more on the horrors of war and learning to steel yourself, and it's only until the last 5 minutes that the fact that Mulan is a girl disguised as a man actually becomes relevant. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it, even if there are weird times when the pacing becomes extremely fast, and Mulan herself is barely given an introduction, but yeah, definitely a solid recommendation, especially if you want a more adult version of the Mulan story.
Well, I wasn't even aware there was a live-action version, so that's intriguing.
Yeah, neither did I. It was only after I obtained this DVD with loads of trailers for Kung Fu movies on it that I found out there was one. Oh dear. And do you want to know what the sad thing is? In the trailer, they're so desperate to try and find any way that's going to appeal to Western audiences that the trailer says, and I kid you not, this is the entire quote,
based on the story that inspired the Disney animated classic.
Okay, then.
Yeah, that's just sad. And to finish off this section,
Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. Not now.
Not now. Bide your time. Wait for your delicious sweet revenge.
Anyway,
Give in to your anger and hatred, and your journey to the dark side will be complete.
no, not now, not now, that's for later. Much later. Anyway.
Foreshadowing. You've not had a very good week with media.
Well, Mulan was quite good. Anyway. So that's all the reviews covered, so we'll now move straight on to the final section, discussion! Normally we use this section to talk about an issue in fiction, but recently we've kind of hit a milestone. This channel has now been running close to 3 years, we have over 100 subscribers, and BGT is now a quick search option on YouTube. So to celebrate all of that, we're going to take a look back at everything we've done until today, our favourite moments, our regrets, and how we will face the oncoming future, as opposed to the future that's coming from behind.
Time paradox, call Doctor Who.
Yeah. So yeah, 3rd year anniversary, that's exciting.
Yeah, even though I was only here for 2 of them.
Oh dear. I'm trying to remember what the heck I had for a 1st year anniversary. I know.
Did we even have one?
No, I don't think we did. I don't think I paid any attention to it. I think back then my upload rate was so slow it was barely worth it.
Well, the 1st year anniversary would have come around November, October of 2009. I was there, so you were putting up uploads.
Yeah, we were making stuff, just not very regularly. Oh dear. But this channel had very humble beginnings back when I was making playthroughs that were basically a shameless rip-off of Hellfire Comms using a camera corner of all things. I still can't get over that.
Well, we all gotta start somewhere, and hey, I still like those old videos.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, except for my first ones, because they have me in it, and I was, what? I was 16 when I started that.
Aw. Oh, geez. Yeah, I can't remember how far I made it into the video. I think Jungle Climber was still ongoing, but reaching towards the end, maybe? I forget. I know it was about 3 or 4 videos until I introduced it for the first time.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking it up now, because you still have a Donkey Kong Jungle Climber playlist.
Yeah, that's still there, although because I think of it, I really need to start reorganizing my playlist as well, so that Monkey Broadcast and the current Jungle Climber talk through have that in it.
Yeah, last episode of Jungle Climber playthrough. Wait, that can't be right. Oh, wait a minute. You started the Sacred Stones at the same time.
Oh, right, that...
I didn't mean to actually play the video. I suddenly hear 2 of you talking.
Oh, wow, that's confusing.
Last entry into Donkey Kong Jungle Climber playthrough was May 10th of 2009, and my introduction was Sacred Stones playthrough part 10, June 17th, 2009.
So just a little bit after it was completed then. Oh yeah, that's right. I think that was when I was still trying to experiment between which playthrough I wanted to carry on with. Oh, the memories. Some of them not very good, but still memories.
Hey, it's still some nostalgia to look back on.
Yeah,